Your note talked about making terms for peace, but my son says there are no terms. You took my husband and my son. We took two of your brothers. We will take everything you have.
The most dangerous moment in any confrontation is not when the other side is winning. It's when they believe they've already won. Not winning, won. Past tense, certainty. The moment their guard drops completely because there's nothing left to guard against. Tommy Shelby didn't stumble into that moment. He built it. Across multiple days, across multiple people, across a carefully staged sequence of grief and surrender and apparent collapse. Every single piece of this was designed to deliver Luca Changretta to one specific room, at one specific moment, completely convinced that the game was already over. In military strategy, there's a concept called controlled collapse. You retreat deliberately in a way that channels your enemy exactly where you need them to be. You give up ground that doesn't matter to define the battlefield on your terms. You look beaten, and then you close the trap. This scene is one of the purest examples of controlled collapse in television history. Let's break down exactly how Tommy built it, and what it teaches about the nature of real leverage. By the time this scene begins, Tommy Shelby is, by any objective measure, losing. Luca Changretta, head of a New York Mafia family, has come to Birmingham to destroy the Peaky Blinders in revenge for the deaths of his father and brother. He has already murdered John Shelby. He shot Michael Gray. He controls the streets through bought police and imported muscle. And now, one of his men has gotten to Arthur, Tommy's most dangerous and loyal brother, apparently killing him at the boxing match. On paper, there is nothing left. No allies. Alfie Solomons has betrayed Tommy and retired. No military option. Changretta's men outnumber his. No leverage. The family business, the name, the empire. All of it is being demanded as the price of peace. And Tommy's mind starts working. Because Tommy doesn't just evaluate the board as it stands. He looks for the structural weakness underneath it, the load-bearing assumption the other person doesn't know they're standing on. And with Luca Changretta, that assumption was hiding in plain sight. Luca is not just a businessman settling a dispute. He's a proud man conducting a vendetta. He doesn't just want to win, he wants to be seen winning. He wants the image of Tommy Shelby broken, signing papers on his knees. That need for visible, complete, humiliating victory is the flaw. And Tommy built the entire trap around it.
You can sign them on your knees. On the floor. Big fuck small. So I had to find someone bigger than you.
Tommy Shelby is on his knees, and that is exactly where he wants to be. Watch what kneeling does to Luca. His attention narrows. He is no longer thinking about the situation. He is inside the feeling of the situation. The satisfaction of watching his enemy submit is occupying the part of his mind that should still be running threat assessment. His vigilance, which got him this far, has been replaced by something more human and more dangerous, the pleasure of winning. And Tommy keeps talking, quietly, almost gently. He starts explaining the structure of the New York liquor business, which families control what, which routes, which profits. It sounds at first like a man filling silence while he works up the nerve to sign. It is actually a man systematically dismantling the foundation of his enemy's confidence, one sentence at a time, while that enemy is too busy enjoying his victory to notice. The kneeling is theater. Everything real is happening in the words. Tommy, still on his knees, continues.
See all the blood relatives you brought with you from New York? They're all dead. Mr. Changretta. And these men here, they work for money for the highest bidder. Is that right?
There is a specific kind of defeat that is worse than being beaten in a fight. It's discovering that the fight was never real, that the other person was always in control, and everything you experienced as a genuine contest was the mechanism of a trap you walked into willingly. Luca Changretta brought guns into that room. He had Tommy searched. He had the paperwork, the kneeling, the surrender. He had everything that looks like winning. What he didn't have was an accurate understanding of what his power was actually made of. His blood family, the people who would have died for him out of loyalty, were dead. The men in that room were mercenaries, hired muscle. And hired muscle, by the logic of the arrangement, follows the highest bidder. Tommy didn't need to overpower Luca's men. He needed to understand their incentive structure before Luca did and make a better offer. Luca's power rested on men who had no particular reason to die for him. Tommy found that structural gap and purchased it weeks before this meeting, while Luca was watching the funeral and believing he had won. Luca thought he owned a foundation. He was renting it. Tommy renewed the lease in his own name, while Luca was busy watching him kneel. Luca, cornered and betrayed by his own men, tries to fight his way out.
To win this war.
Arthur's entrance is the dramatic payoff, the resurrection, the revenge, the line that goes into every highlight reel. And it is all of those things. But look at what it accomplishes beyond the immediate scene. Tommy didn't just need to kill Luca Changretta. He needed to send a message to every organization watching, in Birmingham, in London, in New York. And the message had to be specific and unforgettable. By the time you believe you've beaten the Peaky Blinders, they have already won. Everything you experienced as their defeat was a construction. The funeral was a performance. The kneeling was bait. The surrender was the door of the trap swinging open. Reputation in any competitive environment isn't built on strength alone. It's built on the specific uncertainty that the other person is always operating on a level you can't fully see. Tommy understood this. Arthur's staged death wasn't just a tactical deception. It was a reputation investment. He spent a few days of grief and some paperwork to buy a story that would travel across the Atlantic and make every future adversary slightly less certain they understood what they were walking into. The gun that killed Luca was already in the distillery when Changretta's men searched Tommy at the door. Tommy put it there before he agreed to be searched, before he agreed to kneel, before he stood at a funeral and performed the grief of a man with nothing left. Every step backward was a step forward. That is what controlled collapse looks like when it's executed by someone who has been planning it from the moment they decided to lose. 3 things this scene teaches that extend well beyond Birmingham. First, chosen weakness and forced weakness look identical from the outside, but they produce completely different outcomes. The operative phrase in Tommy's kneeling is that he chose it. When you voluntarily accept a disadvantaged position in order to trigger a specific response, you remain in control even when it doesn't look that way. In any high-stakes situation, the question to ask is not just what position am I in, but who chose this position and why. The most durable leverage isn't the outcome. It's the uncertainty your opponent carries into every future confrontation, the nagging question of whether what they're seeing is real or the beginning of another performance they don't yet understand. The most powerful position is the one your enemy chose for you, because you built the room. Luca Changretta got everything he asked for: the funeral, the kneeling, the paperwork, the surrender. He got it because Tommy gave it to him. Every piece of it was a gift with a trap inside. The most dangerous player at any table isn't the one with the most chips. It's the one who decided which table you'd be sitting at and put the gun in the drawer before you arrived.